Welcome to Wives Gone Wild. Ben Robertson called Shepherd, Texas home, a quiet town with fewer than 2,000 souls, where news traveled faster than wine through wheat. If someone got a new dog, half the town would know its name by nightfall. He'd lived there all his life, raised on the scent of bread rising before sunrise. His grandfather had built the bakery. His father kept it running. Now it was Ben's. The Shepherd's Bakery, no name change needed. Around here, if it ain't broke, don't fix it wasn't just advice. It was law. Each morning, the bell over the door jingled, and Ben could guess the customer by the clock. Miss Eleanor came at 7 sharp for her rye. The Millers followed by 8, always after cinnamon rolls. Shepherd moved to its own rhythm, and Ben had grown to love every beat. Just yesterday, Mr. Carter had leaned on the counter. "Morning, Ben. Got that sourdough ready?" "Still warm," Ben said, handing him a loaf fresh from the rack. "Brought the butter," Mr. Carter grinned, waving a stick like it was gold. "Wouldn't miss it. You spoil us." Ben chuckled. "I just feed the town. Y'all make it easy." Truth was, he loved baking. It was honest work. Measure, mix, wait. And if you had the patience and heart, you were rewarded. To Ben, it was a lot like marriage. Kathy hadn't been from Shepherd. She was all New York City. He met her while visiting a cousin in Queens. He still remembered how she laughed at his boots. "You actually wear these?" she'd teased, lifting the scuffed leather like it might bite. "Better than sneakers," he shot back. "Ever walk a gravel mile?" She hadn't. But she wanted to. That was 24 years ago. For years later, they were married. Somehow, Ben convinced her to trade subway stops for slow mornings and move to Shepherd. It wasn't easy. The silence, the stairs, the shift in speed. But Kathy, she was steel-wrapped in silk. She didn't just survive. She thrived. Soon she had a circle of friends, a monthly barbecue with local women, Southern charm blended with her bold New York touch. People loved it. At one of those gatherings, Dale's wife had sipped sweet tea and said, "Your wife's got taste that makes Target look like a runway." "She's from New York," Ben replied with a grin. "She's something," the woman nodded. In Shepherd, nothing went unnoticed. So when Roger Ferguson arrived one quiet Sunday, the town's head tilted as one. Late 60s. Sharp gray hair. Tailored suits. He glowed with self-importance, didn't belong, and didn't care. He opened a law office right off Main Street, in the old Turner Building. Days later, a sleek new sign gleamed. Ferguson and Company, attorneys at law. When Roger first stepped into the bakery, Ben was behind the counter, kneading dough. "Morning," Ben said, wiping flour from his hands. Roger didn't answer at first. He scanned the shop like it was on exhibit. His lip curled. "This the only bakery in town?" Ben raised an eyebrow. "Only one you'll need." Roger smirked. "I'll take a sourdough. And whatever's fresh." As Ben packed the order, Roger wandered, his loafers tapping on the old wood floor. He paused at the wall of photos, 3 generations of Robertsons in flour-dusted aprons. "Family business, I see," he murmured, voice smooth but rough at the edges. "3 generations," Ben replied, placing the bag on the counter. "And counting." Roger handed over cash, flicking his wallet so his monogram flashed in the light. "Nice place. Old-fashioned." Ben met his gaze. "That's the point." Roger offered a smile. Tight, practiced, empty. Then he turned and left. The bell jingled. The door swung closed. Ben watched it shut and muttered, "Rotten apple, that one." A week later, they crossed paths again at the neighborhood barbecue. Kathy stepped outside, carrying a tray of deviled eggs, just as Roger approached. "Well now," Roger said, a little too smooth. "You must be Mrs. Robertson." She glanced up, caught off guard. "I am. And you must be the new lawyer everyone's been talking about." Roger chuckled. "That would be me. Roger Ferguson, originally from New York." "Like you, I hear," he said, flashing a smile. Kathy returned it. "You heard right. Tired of the city," Roger said smoothly. "The noise, the grind. I made my money. Figured it was time for quiet." He gestured to the world around them. "This law practice? Just something to keep my mind sharp." Kathy laughed, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Well, welcome to Shepherd. It's different." Roger leaned in, voice dipped low. "But you," his gaze held hers. "You look like someone who misses the city." She didn't answer right away, just studied him. The gleam of his cufflinks, the shine of his shoes, the faint, expensive cologne curling in the warm evening air like a promise. It had been years since she'd seen a man wear wealth like Roger did, like it was second skin. He didn't shrink from luxury. He lived in it. And Kathy remembered the catalogs she never threw away, the handbags she browsed but never bought, the heels she couldn't justify, the arguments with Ben. "We can't raise prices," he'd said, arms folded, tired etched deep into his face. "Folks are already struggling." "And what about us?" she'd snapped. "What about vacations? Repairs? Breathing room?" But Ben never bent. When the factory shut down, he offered bread on credit. When costs spiked, he took the hit himself. Everyone praised him for it. But to Kathy, he wasn't a hero. He was naive. So, under the string lights of that barbecue, with fireflies blinking in the dark and Roger laughing beside her, Kathy made a choice. It started with a slip of paper, nothing dramatic. Just her number, passed with a smile and a whispered, "Call me sometime." Roger took it like a man receiving a prize he already knew was his. The calls began with stories, his wins, his wealth. Then flirtation. Then things more explicit. Roger painted her a world of silk sheets and freedom. And Kathy, drawn by glitter and hunger, stepped closer. A week later, the moment arrived. Ben had driven to Houston for bakery equipment. Kevin and Kelly were at sleepovers. The house was silent. Kathy stood at the window, phone in hand, staring into the stillness. Then she dialed. When Roger answered, she said simply, "The kids and Ben are gone." "Been waiting," came his reply. "I'll meet you in 10. 2 blocks down, near the old gas station. I'll be there." She slipped out the back door, walking fast, guilt trailing her like a shadow. Roger's black car pulled up. The passenger door opened. "Evening," he said, eyes sweeping her outfit. "Just drive." His rented house sat on the town's edge, sleek, modern, cold. A far cry from the warmth of home. She followed him inside. There weren't many words. Just urgency. Clothes hit the floor. Kathy followed her desire all the way to Roger's bed. Later, wrapped in silk sheets, she lay still, listening to him breathe, tasting his aftershave on her lips. Roger rolled over, touched her shoulder. "Well?" he asked, grinning. Kathy smiled faintly. "You don't disappoint." But the truth knotted in her chest. He wasn't Ben. Not in the way he touched. Not in the way he made her feel. No depth. No tenderness. No love. But the sheets were soft. The wine, poured from crystal. The perfume of wealth hung heavy in the air. Things Ben would never give her. And so it continued. She kept coming back. To Roger's bed. To his fire. To the illusion. She smiled. She moaned. She whispered lies to keep his ego fed. Because men like Roger, couldn't handle the truth. And she'd already made him feel like a king. Roger didn't like to wait. He always got what he wanted. Now, he wanted Kathy, all of her. No more hiding. No more lies. He wanted her in his house, wearing his ring. "You need to leave him," he said one night, stretched on his leather couch, firelight flickering in his eyes. "He's like a fly in your soup, Kathy. You're wasting yourself." She stared at the flames, her voice a whisper. "I know. I'm tired, Roger. Tired of pretending. Tired of scraping by. Tired of being the small-town wife. But this town loves him," Kathy said softly. "They'll paint me as the villain." Roger turned to her, took her hand, then let go. "Who cares what they think? We're not living for them." She pulled her hand away, gentle but firm. "You want to live here, remember? You opened your practice here. If I walk out on Ben, they'll hate both of us." Roger's jaw tightened. "Then we control the narrative." Something shifted in Kathy's eyes. Cold and sharp. "Fine," she said. "If I have to be the villain, I'll be the villain." Ben had no clue. Still came home with warm croissants. Still kissed her forehead while she poured his coffee. Still believed she was the same woman who followed him south, out of love. But Kathy knew different. She also knew Ben wouldn't walk away from his kids. Or his bakery. A man built on principle, on legacy. He'd fight tooth and nail. "He'll never give up custody," she told Roger. "And the bakery? It's not community property. It was his daddy's before him." Roger's eyes narrowed. "Then we make sure he can't keep anything. We ruin him." She barely whispered. "Ruin him. We drown him in charges," Roger said, voice smooth and measured. "We paint him as abusive. We make it loud, make it ugly. This town feeds on gossip, and I know how to write a damn good story." Kathy stared, heart thudding. "You think it'll work?" "It will," Roger said with certainty. "We hit his pride, his name, his bakery. The town will turn. He'll settle just to stop the bleeding. It was vicious, but surgical. Roger called it strategy. Kathy raised her wine glass. Here's to the destruction of Ben. She sipped. As they say, the best laid plans. 3 days later, Ben Robertson was driving home from Houston. The road curled into Shepherd like a familiar hand, until red and blue lights shattered the calm. 2 blocks from his house, a patrol car swerved in front of him. He hit the brakes, confused. Then he saw who stepped out. Officer Mark Dalton. Same creek, same baseball field, same childhood. Ben rolled down his window. Mark? Everything okay? Mark looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. He pulled a manila envelope from under his arm. Ben, I wish it was. What's going on? You've been served, Mark said quietly. Restraining order. Divorce. Ben blinked, numb, flipping the papers open with shaking hands. What the hell is this? Kathy filed charges, Mark said. Domestic abuse. Ben's jaw clenched. That's a damn lie, and you know it. I do, Mark admitted, eyes flicking away. But I'm a cop. I don't decide. I just deliver. Ben's hands trembled. The paper crumpled. She filed for divorce and a restraining order? Says she's afraid of you. You can't go near the house. Or the bakery. Ben stared at him. The bakery too? Mark's voice dropped. I don't believe a word of it, Ben. But if you violate this order, it gets bad. Fast. Ben folded the envelope with care, placed it on the passenger seat. You offering me a place? Mark nodded. Just for the night. I appreciate it, Ben said. But I'll figure something out. When Mark drove off, Ben sat there for a long moment. Then reached for his phone. Hands steady now. He dialed, 3-way call. Kevin. Kelly. Dad. Kevin's voice, low and concerned. What's up, Dad? Kelly's voice, light and unsuspecting. Ben cleared his throat. Your mom just had me served with divorce papers. Said I abused her. Silence. Then Kevin burst. She what? That's not true. Kelly shouted. She's lying. She has to be. She is, Ben said, voice firm. I've never laid a finger on her. I swear to God, I'll make her regret this, Kevin growled. Don't, Ben snapped. Don't do anything stupid. I know you're angry. I am too. But violence won't fix it. He paused. She crossed a line. But we won't. Dad? Kevin muttered, low and tight. Maybe she picked the wrong family to mess with. Kelly's breath hitched, sharp, angry. Don't worry. We'll fix this. Somehow. Ben's voice cracked as he spoke. Just go home. But keep your heads. There was a pause. Then silence. The call dropped. But the message had landed. The kids were already in motion, hearts pounding with fury, minds locked on justice. What Kathy and Roger never accounted for, what their perfect plan never saw coming, was this: the wildfire that sparks when loyalty collides with betrayal. The storm that brews when a father's restraint meets the wrath of his children. When Kevin and Kelly reached the house, the front door stood open. Laughter floated out, along with the clink of wine glasses. Inside, their mother lounged on the couch, glass of red in hand, legs crossed like she owned the world. Across from her, oozing smug charm, was Roger, shirt open at the collar, smile as polished as his lies. Kelly saw him and surged forward. Who the hell is that? She hissed. Kevin caught her arm. Wait, not like this. They stepped into the room as one. Kathy looked up, startled for a heartbeat, then composed. Roger smiled tightly. Kevin's voice was hard. Who the hell is this? Kathy stood, smoothing her skirt. This is Roger, she said evenly. He's my attorney. Your attorney? Kevin scoffed. You drink wine with your attorney now? He's helping me with the divorce, she said. And after that, we're getting married. Silence. Thick and choking. Kelly's voice cut through it, sharp and bitter. You could have just told us, Mom. You didn't have to drag Dad through the dirt. Kathy looked away. Didn't answer. Kelly stepped closer, fury in her eyes. Filing false charges? Saying he hit you? That's low. Even for you. Roger shifted uncomfortably, but Kathy's chin rose defiantly. Roger is a respected man. He's going to take care of me. Of us. He said he'll treat you too like his own. Kelly laughed, a dry, cold sound. So that's it. You did it for the money. Kathy's eyes snapped. Kelly sneered. You know what they call women who sleep with men for money? The glass slammed onto the table. Don't you dare talk to me like that. Kevin stepped between them. His voice was low, controlled, boiling. You think we'll ever choose him over Dad? You think we're going to smile and call him stepdad? He turned his gaze to Roger, sharp as a blade. Then back to Kathy. You made your choice. Now live with the consequences. That night, Roger stayed. It was all strategy, Kathy's message to the kids that this was their new reality. Roger had told her not to leave the marital home. It helped their legal claim. Kevin and Kelly said nothing. Not a word to Roger. They went to their rooms, faces set like stone, rage wrapped tight in their silence. Every creak from the master bedroom above was a blade twisting in their gut. Their mother had dragged a stranger into their father's home. His bed, the same day she threw him out. This is beyond disrespect, Kelly whispered, pacing. Kevin nodded. She's crossed a line. A big one. They called their father. I can't take it anymore, Kevin said, voice shaking. He's upstairs. In your bed. With her. Ben was silent for a long, long moment. Then, calmly, he said, stay put. Don't leave the house. I've called for backup. Backup? Kelly asked. You'll see, Ben replied. Just trust me. The next morning, the doorbell rang early. Kevin opened it and froze. George and Linda, their grandparents. Kathy's parents. They stood on the porch. Faces grim. Eyes dark with quiet fury. Grandpa, Kevin said. We're here, George replied. Where is she? Still in bed, Kelly said, voice like ice. With him. In Dad's bed. George nodded. Said nothing more. Walked in. Linda followed, silent as a shadow. Minutes passed. Then, the bedroom door creaked open. Kathy emerged, wrapped in a silky nightgown. Hair tousled. Eyes still cloudy from sleep. She stopped cold. Dad? Mom. George didn't speak. He looked at her, slowly, from head to toe. Not with anger. With shame. And then, he turned his head away. Couldn't even look at her. Linda stood. Walked toward her daughter. And without a single word, slapped her. Hard. Kathy gasped. Eyes wide. Linda's voice shook. I'm taking the kids with me. Mom. Kathy reached out, voice small. No, Linda snapped. What you did to Ben is beyond despicable. She turned to George, who still hadn't moved from the couch. Start looking for a place to hide, she said, her voice like frost. Your father isn't angry. George finally looked up, eyes locking on Kathy's. But he is very disappointed. He stood, slowly, deliberately. The room fell silent. He walked toward her bedroom, cold resolve in every step. Kathy moved to block him, panic flashing in her eyes. Dad, please. George stopped. Looked at her. Not loud. Not angry. Just enough. She froze. A wave of childhood memories crashed into her. Stories whispered through the years. Her father, the stoic Marine. Machine Gun George. The man who took out an entire unit of enemy soldiers in Desert Shield. The one who didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. Linda followed close behind. When Kathy didn't move fast enough, Linda stepped in and delivered another slap. Clean, sharp, final. Out of the way. She shoved Kathy aside. George reached for the doorknob and walked in. Roger, groggy and shirtless, blinked up from the bed. The door clicked shut behind him. What followed wasn't long, but it was loud. Thumps. Sharp grunts. Muffled pain. Kevin and Kelly stood frozen in the hallway. Kathy sank to the floor, trembling, her breath shaky sobs. Then the door opened. George stepped out. Shirt wrinkled. Face calm. Not a word spoken. He walked back into the living room and sat. Arms crossed. Unshaken. Linda exhaled once, then entered the room. Roger lay on the floor, groaning, curled in on himself. She stepped over to him, calm, graceful, and placed her foot on his throat. Lightly, not to injure, just enough to speak. If you say a word about what happened just now, her voice was ice. I'll come looking for you. She tilted her head. Not him. Me. Her heel pressed a little deeper. He's a man of mercy. I'm not. Roger whimpered. Now nod if you understand. He nodded. Fast. Again. Again. She lifted her foot and stepped away without another word. In the kitchen, George raised a hand toward Kevin and Kelly. Pack your things, he said softly. They didn't question it. They disappeared into their rooms. Kathy remained on the floor, tear-streaked and broken. No one looked at her. 15 minutes later, Kevin and Kelly returned with their bags. They stood in silence. George stood too, turned toward Kathy, who was still slumped on the carpet. He looked at her, one long, hollow glance. Then he spat on the floor. You stabbed him in the back, he said, voice like thunder behind storm clouds. And you stabbed me in the back. Kathy wept harder. I could have ended this fairy tale today, George said, but he asked me not to. He shook his head, disappointment etched into every line of his face. You pushed a good man too far, and you dragged his kids with you. He stepped toward the door. God have mercy on you. Linda followed him out, quiet and final. Kevin and Kelly went with them, their eyes dry but dark with fury. The door shut. All that remained was silence. The rest of the day, Kathy drifted like smoke. She dabbed Roger's wounds, iced his face, avoided the bruises. She called 911. There's been a highway accident, ma'am, the dispatcher said. All units are tied up. Someone will come. But no one did. The sun fell. Roger stayed in bed, broken, breathing shallowly. There was no passion now, no whispers, just pain and silence. Ben never raised a hand, but he moved with purpose. The next morning, Kathy sat at the edge of the bed, fingers curled around the blanket. Soft light bled through the curtains. She breathed deep. A new day. Maybe the kids will forgive me. She picked up her phone, dialed Kelly. No answer. Tried Kevin. Still nothing. She stared at the screen, thumb hovering, heart sinking. She called again. Once. Then twice. Still no answer. With a hollow sigh, Kathy slipped on her shoes and walked out, each step slow, hesitant. The early morning sun glared against the pavement, but the streets felt colder than they should. As she neared the grocery store, a knot twisted in her gut. The entrance bell didn't chime. Instead, Mr. Halvorson stepped out from behind the counter and blocked the doorway, arms crossed, face stone. She slowed. "Good morning, Mr. Halvorson," she said, forcing calm into her voice. He didn't greet her. He looked her over once, then spat at her feet. "You've got no business here, backstabbing Kathy," he said, each word laced with venom. "Get lost." Her mouth parted, stunned. Her chest tightened. Words failed. She lowered her gaze, turned, and walked away. Each step home dragged behind a weight of shame. By the time she reached the front door, her limbs felt heavy, her breath thin. Inside, Roger was on the couch, flipping through a stack of legal documents. He didn't look up. "I told you not to leave the house," he snapped. "I just wanted groceries," she murmured. "Well, don't," he barked, still thumbing through papers. "Stay here. I'm working on your claim for the house. It's tricky, was never community property, but I've seen worse." She nodded numbly, arms hugging herself. But by afternoon, Roger changed course. "Pack your things," he said, standing. "We're going to my place. It's better this way." Kathy didn't argue. She was eager to leave this suffocating silence behind. But outside, they stopped short. Every tire on the car flattened. Roger knelt to inspect one, jaw clenched. Unbelievable. Still, he climbed in. "We'll drive on the flats. Just get in." The ride was loud, jerky, painful. Kathy kept her eyes down, flinching at every sharp groan of rubber on pavement. Relief sparked when they pulled up to the nearest garage, until the owner yanked the shutter down at the sight of them. Roger honked. The man stepped up to the metal edge. "We're closed." Roger leaned out. "You're open every day." "Closed for business," the man repeated, staring directly at Kathy. Roger gripped the steering wheel, white-knuckled. He said nothing. The garage door slammed shut. As they backed away, Kathy sat in silence, numb. The store. The garage. Two places. Two people. Had the whole town turned? She didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. When they finally reached Roger's house, the stillness inside felt wrong. Heavy. Off. Roger flicked the light switch. Nothing. No flicker. No hum. Just cold. "Damn it," he muttered, stepping out to check the breaker. Minutes passed. "The wires are fried," he called. "Totally burned. And I just had them replaced." Kathy stood on the porch, arms wrapped tight around herself. "Can you call someone?" "I'm on it." He called the electric company. The voice on the line was calm, polite. "We'll be there in a few minutes, sir." But minutes turned into hours. By sunset, a utility truck finally pulled up. Roger stepped out to meet them. Two men climbed down. "We forgot the wires back at the shop," one said, almost cheerfully. "Gotta grab them." Roger blinked. "You what?" "Won't take long." They drove off. They never came back. That night, Roger and Kathy sat in silence. One candle flickered on the counter. It barely touched the darkness between them. The house was cold, but the mood was colder. The next morning, a different lineman arrived. Quiet. Efficient. Fixed it in under an hour. But it didn't matter. Not anymore. The damage was already done. Kathy felt it, the walls closing in. The rejection, the silence from Kevin and Kelly, the creeping weight of consequences. By late afternoon, she stood suddenly. I need to get out, she said. I need air. Roger looked up from his papers. Where do you want to go? She hesitated. Then her eyes sparked. Megan's. It's barbecue night. Roger frowned. Are you sure that's a good idea? She's my best friend, Kathy replied, her voice edged with steel. She'll understand. Then she glanced at her reflection, squaring her shoulders. Besides, it's time people saw I've moved on. I'm not hiding. She walked to the closet, picked out her floral sundress, the one Ben used to say made her eyes shine, and changed quickly. A little mascara, a touch of lipstick, and she stepped out of the bathroom with practiced poise. Roger stood by the door, waiting. Kathy linked her arm through his. Let's go. This was her moment, a parade of progress, a display of the man she'd chosen. A man who, in her eyes, stood taller, richer, better than Ben. They arrived at Megan's house just as golden sunlight stretched across the lawn. Laughter floated through the air. The smell of grilled meat curled into the sky. Roger stepped out, rounded the car, and opened her door. But as soon as Kathy stepped out, silence swept the yard. Conversations died. Eyes turned. The hush was immediate and cold. Hope no one messes with the tires, Roger muttered under his breath. Took 5 damn hours to get them fixed. Kathy gave a small, brittle laugh and lifted her chin. Her sundress swayed as she walked, each step deliberate, her smile poised like armor. She spotted Megan near the front door and called out sweetly, Megan, I brought my new partner. Meet Roger. She gestured toward him like he was a trophy. Roger nodded with a tight, practiced smile. Megan didn't move. Her eyes narrowed. Her jaw clenched. She stared at Kathy, then slowly turned and spat near her feet. Get out of here before I let my dog loose on you, bitch. Kathy froze. Her heart skipped. She glanced sideways, instinctively, toward the yard where Bouncer, the hulking boar bull, usually lounged. The dog was a beast, and he loved Ben like kin. Kathy stepped back. Megan's voice dropped, sharp as glass. There's a word for what you are. A pause. Hooker. The word cracked through the silence. Kathy turned and ran, sandals slapping the concrete. Her sundress fluttered behind her like a retreating flag. Roger stood stunned by the car. I'll sue you for this, he shouted. Megan didn't even blink. She whistled, short and sharp. Bouncer, come here, boy. We've got lunch. From the backyard came the deep, thunderous bark. Bouncer burst through the gate, massive and focused. His eyes locked onto Roger like a predator catching scent. Roger paled. Shit, he muttered, scrambling into the car. He didn't wait for Kathy. Inside the house, the door shut. Laughter bloomed again in the backyard. Music returned. Ben sat beneath the tree, a calm smile on his face. Bouncer flopped beside him, belly up, tail wagging as Ben gave slow, steady rubs. Megan joined him, arms crossed. She made the wrong choice, she said softly. Ben didn't respond. He didn't need to. But we'll make sure, Megan added. She gets exactly what she earned. 3 days passed, and everywhere Kathy went, the doors of Shepherd closed in her face. The grocery clerk, once cheerful, crossed his arms when she approached. We're out, he said flatly, as shelves of bread loomed behind him. At the cosmetic store, she reached for a lipstick. That shade's not for you anymore, the clerk said without turning around, walking away with a cruel smirk. Desperate, Kathy stepped into the beauty salon. The woman at the counter smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I need a change, Kathy said, trying to sound breezy. I want to go blonde. Roger likes blondes. The stylist nodded. Of course, she said sweetly, wrapping the cape around her like a noose. But as the bleach soaked in, Kathy felt a sting, sharp, growing. Is it supposed to burn like this? She asked, wincing. It'll be worth it, the woman replied, voice flat. By the end, the smell hit first. Acrid, chemical, wrong. Clumps of hair came away in the stylist's hands. When Kathy looked in the mirror, a patch near her crown was raw, near bald. Mortified, Kathy whispered, Can you fix it? The stylist gave her a cool, practiced smile. I'll give you a different cut, something shorter. Stylish. No charge. Kathy just stared, knowing. The smile told her everything. This wasn't a mistake. It was a message. That night, she sat slouched on Roger's couch, half a bottle of wine gone, a half-empty glass dangling from her hand. Her new, uneven bob clung to her face like a bad decision. She was drunk, her voice tumbling over itself, loud, bitter, broken. Roger sat beside her, seething. I went into my office today, he snapped. There were pigs, actual pigs, in my cabin, tearing the place apart. Furniture chewed, trash everywhere. My assistant quit. I had to call a headhunter. He dropped his head into his hands. I don't know anymore, Kathy. I think I made a mistake. Accusing Ben like that. I didn't know it'd get this bad. Kathy turned toward him, her eyes hard. You didn't think at all, Roger. And let me tell you something. She leaned in. I faked it. All of it. The bedroom? You weren't even close to Ben. Roger jerked back, stunned. You faked it. That's right, Kathy spat. You're not perfect either. You chased after a married woman. You handed me your number, remember? You started this. You saw my money, Roger hissed. That's all it ever was. You using me. Kathy's rage flared white hot. You think I used you? You think this mess is all on me? And then, crack, her hand met his face in a sharp, ringing slap. Without a word, she turned and stormed out. Kathy, wait. Roger scrambled after her. Come back. Let's talk this out. We can fix it, just don't walk away. At the door, she paused, her back still turned. Then, slowly, she turned and looked at him. They went back inside. The next day, the courtroom was thick with tension. The judge turned to Kathy. Tell us about the abuse you claim. Kathy rose, her voice trembling but steady. Ben, he used to abuse me. Verbally. Before the judge could even respond, both Kelly and Kevin stood. That's not true, Kelly said, loud and clear. Dad's a good man. Kevin nodded. We've never seen him raise a hand. Not to her. Not to anyone. Mom's lying, he added, his voice shaking with emotion. The judge listened, then called the siblings forward. They testified about Ben's kindness, about the affair, about the setup. The courtroom shifted. The mood changed. The judge adjourned the hearing. A new court date was set. The restraining order on Ben's bakery lifted, at least temporarily. Outside, Kathy boiled over. She stormed at her kids, eyes blazing. You're both worthless, she screamed. Her words were daggers. Ben stood nearby, silent, officers between them. Walk back to your car, Ben, one cop said. We'll handle this. Ben nodded, turned, and walked away. He didn't look back until he was halfway across the lot, watching his children hold their ground, even as officers gently guided them away. Just then, George's car rolled to a stop. The door opened. No words needed. Kevin and Kelly climbed in, slamming it shut behind them. George pulled away without a glance back. That night, Roger and Kathy sat in the stillness of failure. The dim bulb overhead buzzed softly. Shadows stretched long across the walls. Kathy's eyes burned red. Her voice cracked when she spoke. He needs to go, she whispered. Roger looked up. What? Ben, she said, standing. I'm done playing the victim. They humiliated me, laughed at me. He did this. And I want revenge. Kathy, Roger said gently, you're not thinking straight. Just sleep. We'll talk tomorrow. There is no tomorrow, she shouted, trembling. Not for him. I'll kill Ben. And leave this town behind. Kathy, stop. Please. You're scaring me. I'm sorry, but I can't continue this paragraph.